Kuznicki. I am the Legislative and Economic Development Committee Chair for the Pittsburgh North Regional Chamber. And today, for our Workforce Development Project, I'm interviewing Max Holmes and Ani Kapuria, who are the founders of a company called Conduit out of Carnegie Mellon University. Can you please tell us a little bit about Conduit? What do you do, and how you are approaching or taking your approach is taking to workforce development issues?
Well, thank you so much for having us on, Kathleen. It's great to be here. Great to talk to the chamber. So Conduit is what we call a workforce mobilization platform. It's a little term we made up, but really what it means is we want to be able to both help workers, right, regardless of their educational background, their age, or their zip code, develop sustainable career paths, right, for the jobs of the future. But specifically the jobs of the future in industries such as green manufacturing, clean energy, robotics, whatever the next 10 to 20 years may bring, right, as we sort of enter this new era of American industry. One of the big issues we're seeing is that there's a great desire to rehome manufacturing and rehome a lot of these critical industries back into the U.S. But there's a real skill gap between where workers are now and where these sort of businesses need them to be, right, to hit the ground running when all these businesses get started. So our goal is to be able to create those sustainable career development pathways that help take workers from wherever they are and guide them through steps in their career, connecting to the right skills development and educational resources, so that they're prepared to develop these long-term careers, in places like Pittsburgh, right, without having to leave the area to seek, sustainable employment.
Mm-hmm.
While at the same time, we want to make sure that along the way, all these local businesses that are so critical to the local infrastructure and the local economy always have the workers that they need to be able to operate. So really the place that we're using as a jumping off point is an internal platform for what we're calling frontline shift-based businesses. You can think food service and retail, an internal workforce management platform that helps engage employees, helps keep them retained longer at these businesses, just so they have some income stability, right, as they sort of grow their careers. And these businesses have the workers that they need. The chronic understaffing and turnover problems are really negatively impacting a lot of these businesses. So we're building a solution that can step in and help both sides, both parties here.
Okay. So what post-COVID workforce shifts prompted your approach?
Yeah, so really there's interesting changes sort of coming out of the pandemic. A lot of people across all age groups used it as a time to really reorient what their life priorities were, right? What they really wanted to spend their time doing. And a big outcome of that is workers are now prioritizing things like flexible schedules, supportive management, positive team culture, as the things that they're looking for in jobs and as the deciding factors in what job opportunities they take. Of course, as I said, this is prevalent across all age groups, but it's especially prevalent in young workers that are early in their careers or just entering the workforces. So you can think, Gen Z and young millennials, ages 18 to 30, they're really driving this trend that we've seen where, they're willing to switch jobs as many times as they have to be able to find that right fit for themselves. So we thought it was a great opportunity to step in, help out these businesses that are seeing, double pre-pandemic levels of turnover, really negatively impacting their ability to operate and survive, as well as help to engage these workers, give them the things they're looking for in a job, as well as be able to save these businesses time and money.
Okay. So Ani, as a business model and this new technology model, like employers might shy away because a lot of people don't like new technology, but why would this integrative, empathetic scheduling and development process that you've developed benefit employers, and why does it resonate so much with workers?
Yeah, thanks for the question. To what Max was saying, what we noticed in the market, talking to our customers, and of course we've seen research as well, is that there is this generational mindset change in how both workers and managers and business owners are now starting to see how work. So when we talk about the empathetic approach and our model, really what we're trying to do is align to the preferences and the wants and needs of the workers. And when it comes to flexibility, to Max's point, largely it's going away from the traditional I'm working half a day or a full day with at a particular location, and it's a need for a lot of fractional scheduling, a need for a lot of fractional management of their time. So we invert the traditional manager-led model where a manager would traditionally sit down and look at the roles and number of people needed and start slotting them. And in good organizations where the manager has that time, or is a particularly good social person, then might get to know their preferences and might include some of those in the scheduling decision. But largely that is not a communication that takes place. Workers are typically shy in providing their preferences or may not trust the business owner or the manager, and likewise, schedules are too busy for the owner to step in and really get to know the worker. So we invert that model. We allow a preference-led submission of the hours workers really want to work in a fractional way and don't really want, rather than just focus on availability, and let the system build the schedule that would be essentially perfect for the business. So we take that administrative and operational cost and headache away from the owners while we take care of aligning to the workers' exact needs and allow that channel of communication of preference provision and feedback to open up. So that's where we started with a schedule-based approach to sort of bring in this empathetic impact associated approach of aligning to workers' needs first. And yeah, to Max's point, our vision is to stack on product features and more capabilities in the future, but to take this inverted employee and preference-led model and apply that both in design and in our execution.
All right. Can you actually give us maybe some specific examples to illustrate it better for our membership so they get a better understanding of what you're talking about?
Sure. Yeah, I can. Just with scheduling in mind, I can speak to where we've applied this for two different customers. So one is a smaller mom and pop like shop, if you will, both in the food service space. So this coffee shop wants to use our tool or is using our tool to understand purely just the preferences of their workers around their shifts. So they have a team of under 10 employees, but largely they're very flexible roles. So all of them are baristas and can step in and out of different roles. Each of these workers provide their preferences. The manager simply views it, the heat map, if you will, and learns which days and which shifts have a high probability of being able to schedule and not have call-outs because it is the higher preference for the workers, and which shifts are really problematic. So this has allowed a level of degree of introspection that a manager can do in understanding when callouts happen and how to manage their team better across their one location for the week. In another example, also in the food service industry, it's a food and coffee retail store. It's a multi-location businesses. There, the business owner and managers are using it to understand how to balance workers across multiple locations. It's also used as a tool to maybe ensure that branding and the experience across multiple locations is the same. And so simply they're using our tool to gather the preferences and build the ideal schedule, but by allowing workers to shift from one location to the other. These locations are densely spread around the city. There are about 6 or 7 locations. So there's a little bit of a use case there. That's very interesting when you have more locations, or let's say multiple locations where workers can be pooled and shared across. So these examples are how two of the tools, just in the very, our first feature set are being utilized in different ways, depending on whether you're a small or multi-location.
Okay. So Max, what are the short-term benefits? And then as you're saying, you're going to be adding features. And so what are some of the long-term benefits to your approach?
Yeah, absolutely. So we started to start with scheduling because it's a process that takes place across almost every industry, right, where you have shift-based work. It's also the primary interface between these workers' desire for flexibility and their desire to build their work life around their personal life with business operational needs. And typically, as Ani said, there's one person responsible for creating these master schedules and then updating them as workers need to change their hours or as Ani said, call outs or no-shows happen during the week. So primarily what we do is we look at this process and we use these worker preferences to automate the initial schedule creation, as well as handling any call-outs that happen during the week, which can save the average manager about 10 hours of work. And this is work that, critically is, basically stop and do it right now work, right? If something happens where a worker can't show up, the manager has to stop what they're working on and has to jump on the phone, has to text people, has to email people, until they find someone that can come in and cover a shift. But because we know all these workers' preferences for shift times and the number of hours they want in a week, we can actually automate that outreach and find the workers that are most likely to come in and take that shift giving the manager that peace of mind, right? That they'll have the right worker come in, and that, you know, at the end of the day, if no one can come in, then they have to do the shift anyway, right? Which is their fail state now, but that they save all that time with that outreach. Because again, you know, we think of, you know, we tend to think of managers differently than workers, but they're burned out and stressed out too, right? These kinds of issues affect them, and it pushes them to quit and find new jobs. So really, we want to stop this cascading sort of chain of stress and burnout and turnover up and down industries. And then on the worker side, really, it's just giving them that flexibility that they're looking for, right? We want to, by an integrative solution, we mean we want to help them have agency, right, in their workforce, in their workplace experience. And just by giving them the ability to say, hey, look, it's not just available, unavailable, right? That's not how we think about work. We say, hey, look, this week, I'd really rather not work on Wednesday afternoons. I will if you have to schedule me, but I prefer not to, right? We allow them to build that into the schedule and then fairly distribute those, you know, high and low desirability days across worker and then across the weeks. So if someone gets a bad schedule one week, we build that into how we build the schedule for the next week to say, hey, look, we recognize that we gave you some shifts that you didn't necessarily want. This week, we're going to, you know, give you something that's a little more aligned with your direct priorities, because, you know, that's the fair thing to do, right? And that idea of fairness and transparency is one of the biggest stressors for both workers and for management. So we just try to build that and factor that into how we create these schedules. As I said, you know, we save 10 hours per week, right, of pure time for managers. And then by being able to tackle, right, this burnout and turnover problem and preempt the causes of those separations, we can actually save businesses about $50,000 per year per business location. So there's immediate short-term operational benefits, but also long-term financial benefits to utilizing our platform and to approaching scheduling in this empathetic manner.
All right, and do you guys help is your platform, I guess I'll say, is intuitive and easy to use for maybe a business owner that isn't a high-tech person like you?
Yeah, Ani, maybe Ani can speak to some of the features better, but at a high level, I mean, we've approached the design of both the features and the user interface of our platform fully with you know, users in mind, right? From, you know, even months before we started our company, we were interviewing people, frontline workers, managers, business owners, to say, look, if we just reimagined how this worked, right, how would you want to see this, right? What information would you want to be seeing? And how would you want to interface with it, right? So we're exploring a lot of different avenues with these early customers to say, look, what's working, what's not, and how can we make this easier?
Ani, do you have any follow-up for that?
Yeah, and you know, I'll add to that exercise in learning and talking to our customers and users has continued on through. So even a couple of months later now, you know, we're learning about how workers really want to communicate, both down to the actual medium they want to use as well. So, you know, of course, we're learning depending on the size they are. You know, they don't want to get another app on their phone, and you know, it's not just another digital interface that they have to work with layered on top. So we're approaching that both from a simplicity in design, making it as frictionless as possible. So this process of preference submission that we just talked about, you know, that's a 2-click process at the most if you're using it on a computer. Otherwise, we are exploring pathways in which they'll be able to text their preference in the future, which is a common way of communicating if you are in food service and especially in the service roles. So make it as simple as possible for the users to engage in a design perspective. And that's all been through communication and through you know, deep discussions and interviews with both the workers as well as the business owners and managers. So I've been very glad that we've always applied that model and approach to building both from a feature set as well as how we're approaching the business by simply having those customer discovery discussions and making that part of our you know, everyday tasks, so to speak.
Okay, now here's the big question. How are you taking your own advice in hiring and engaging workers?
Yeah, I've had the pleasure, let's say, of hiring people almost my entire career, right? So I've had a little bit of time to like develop this sort of shtick that I have about how I like to set up my workplaces, because I've always tried to be really flexible with how I've built the workplaces that I've managed, that I've run. Anytime I've had anyone that I've brought on as a hire, To really say, look, this has to be a process that works for both of us, right? We have to be providing experience that helps you grow, right? It helps you develop in the ways that you want. Obviously, you have to make an impact, right, for the business, but we're really flexible in how we structure it, right, in a way that works well for everyone, right, so that everyone benefits. It can be sometimes a little awkward with employees, right, when you're interviewing or onboarding them, when they're asking about what the structure of work is, and Ani and I go like, we care about what your output, right? I'm not going to be checking Slack to make sure you're online at 9 a.m. every day. It's like we all work differently, right? And we all have the times we do our best work, the places we do our best work. So we really enforce the policy where the only required times that we have people in the office, right, or even on a call like this, is when we're doing kickoff meetings for projects, or project updates. We try to minimize the amount of time we spend in meetings, just to be able to give people the ability to work their best, right, and to be their best self, because that's how you produce the best product, right? That's how you have the most engaged workers who are bought in, not just to what they're getting paid, right, but to what they're building and the team that they're building it with. So we think that's incredibly critical to how we've built our team, and it's something that we try to walk the walk, as well as talk the talk, with our customers.
Okay, well, very good. So last question then will be, for our membership or anybody else who's watching this video would be interested in learning more, how can they reach out and contact you?
Yeah, sure. So our website is conduit.rocks, which is a fun little domain name that we picked up last year. We thought it was pretty catchy. My email is max, MAX at conduit.rocks. Ani's is Ani at conduit.rocks. We, maybe to our detriment sometimes, we try to answer any email that comes our way. So if anyone is interested in engaging with us as a potential customer or as a design partner, learning more about what we do, or even just to reach out and tell us how we're doing this wrong, and how we could be doing things better, please feel free. We're pretty open, flexible people, and we're always looking to learn more and engage with more people as we build this process.
Okay, well, thank you both for being here, and I also like to thank the Pittsburgh North Regional Chamber for allowing us to use this platform to educate our membership. Goodbye.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Bye.